Far away from the city lights, beyond the endless highways and the constant roar of traffic, there was a small wooden house at the edge of a forest. It stood beside a clear, gentle river, where the water flowed softly and birds sang from the tops of tall pine trees. In this quiet corner of the world lived Daniel and Maya, a simple couple who had chosen a life of peace over luxury, and of serene calmness over fleeting comfort. Daniel was a carpenter. His hands were strong and weathered, marked by years of shaping wood into beautiful, functional things. Maya was a gardener, her touch gentle and patient, her spirit full of life and a deep connection to the earth. Their days began before the sun. They would wake when the air was still cool, and a soft mist danced across the fields like a delicate veil. Daniel would brew coffee on their small wooden stove, its rich aroma filling their cozy home. Maya would open the window, letting the first golden rays of morning light pour in, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. They would sit together on the porch, sharing their morning coffee in a comfortable, peaceful silence. No words were needed. The gentle murmur of the river, the chorus of the waking birds, and the soft whisper of the wind through the pines were a language all their own. It was a symphony of nature, and it was all the conversation they needed. Life for Daniel and Maya was beautifully simple. They cultivated their own food in a lush garden, its rows bursting with vegetables. A small flock of chickens clucked contentedly in a coop Daniel had built, providing fresh eggs each day. They would often exchange their abundant harvest with neighbors from the nearby village, trading fresh tomatoes for homemade bread, or zucchini for local honey. Each day followed a peaceful, predictable rhythm: work in the morning, a quiet rest at noon, and shared laughter in the evening. But this peace wasn't something they stumbled upon by accident. It was a deliberate choice, a conscious turning away from a different kind of life. Years ago, they had lived in the heart of the city, immersed in its relentless noise, its suffocating traffic, and its endless demands. Daniel had worked long, grueling hours in a loud furniture factory, his creativity stifled by mass production. Maya had spent her days in a high-pressure office, buried under a mountain of stress and impossible deadlines. Their hearts were weary, their smiles were rare, and they felt like strangers to themselves. One evening, sitting in their small, sterile apartment, the city sounds a constant hum outside their window. Daniel turned to Maya and spoke quietly, his voice barely a whisper. "Maya," he said, "what if we just start over? Somewhere far away from all this. Just you and me." She looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears and a flicker of hope. She nodded slowly. "Let's go," she replied, her voice filled with a quiet strength. "Let's go where the only sound we hear is the wind." And so, they did. They left everything behind: their jobs, their apartment, their old routines and habits. With their savings, a deep well of love, and an immense amount of courage, they moved to the countryside. At first, life was a challenge. They had to learn so many new skills. They learned how to plant seeds and nurture them into food, how to read the weather and the seasons. They learned how to build and how to fix things with their own two hands. But with every challenge came a profound sense of joy and accomplishment. Every nail Daniel hammered into the walls of their small home carried meaning. It was a nail in the coffin of their old life and a foundation for their new one. Every flower Maya planted in the rich soil became a vibrant symbol of new beginnings and blossoming hope. The years passed by quietly, marked by the turning of the seasons. Spring brought a riot of blossoms and the buzz of new life. Summer bathed their world in warmth and long, lazy days. Autumn painted the forest in brilliant shades of gold, red, and orange. And winter wrapped their home in a soft, silent blanket of white snow. Sometimes, friendly neighbors would visit, bringing pies or fresh milk. "Don't you get lonely out here?" they would occasionally ask, looking around at the vast, quiet landscape, living so far from everyone. Maya would just smile her warm, genuine smile and reply, "We're never lonely. The trees talk to us, the river sings to us, and peace sits right here beside us every single day." At night, they would sit by the crackling fireplace, the flames casting dancing shadows on the wooden walls. Daniel, his hands now skilled in a more delicate art, would carve small, whimsical figures from scraps of wood: a bird, a fox, a dancing bear. Maya would read aloud from old beloved books, her voice a soothing melody against the backdrop of the fire. Their laughter, gentle and warm, filled the small house, a sound more precious than any music. They didn't have much in the way of material possessions. There was no expensive furniture, no closet full of new clothes, no fancy gadgets or machines. But they had everything they truly needed: an unwavering love, a deep and abiding peace, and the priceless gift of time. Time to be together, time to create, time to simply be. One winter evening, as the snow fell in thick, silent flakes outside their window, creating a perfect, pristine world, Daniel looked at Maya, his heart full. You know, he said softly, people spend their whole lives chasing happiness, running after it like it's something to be caught, but I think we found it. Right here. Maya smiled, her eyes glowing in the warm firelight, reflecting the love and contentment that filled their home. Happiness was never something to be chased, she said wisely. It was something to be built. Slowly, quietly, together. And in that small house by the river, under the watchful gaze of the silent stars, they continued to live the life they had always dreamed of, a life far from the noise, intimately close to nature, and even closer to each other. Their story became a quiet legend in the nearby village, a gentle reminder whispered from one person to another. It was the tale of Daniel and Maya, the couple who found true peace in a place the rest of the world had forgotten to look.